Welcome to our webinar, 2024 To-Dos for Incentive Travel, our third webinar in our To-Do series. Thank you so much for being here today as we share what's trending for incentive travel in 2024. My name is Terrace Bricker. I'm the marketing manager here at Brightspot and your host for today's webinar. I almost forgot who I was for a second. As I mentioned, this webinar is part of our To-Do series. So if you missed out on the first two webinars for meetings or channel incentives, we'll provide you with those recording links in the chat so you don't miss out. I'd like to introduce our panelists, Rudy Garza and Kim Dierks, and have them tell you a little bit about themselves. Go ahead, Rudy.
Thanks, Terrace. Excited to be here. So good afternoon, everyone, or even good evening to any Europe friends that might be on this webinar. I am Rudy Garza. I am one of the VPs here at Brightspot Incentives and Events. According to LinkedIn, I have been with Brightspot for 13 years, so I am officially a teenager in Brightspot years. I oversee our operations team, which covers both our travel and non-travel segments. I also have the distinct pleasure to serve on the board of trustees for the Incentive Research Foundation, or IRF, and also serve as the chair of their research committee. So I'm super excited to be here and to discuss these 2024 to-dos for incentive travel.
Great. Thanks, Rudy. Hello, good afternoon or good evening. My name is Kim Dierks, and I am one of two directors of events here at Brightspot. I have been with Brightspot just shy of about 9 years, spending most of my time as a planner, working on many different programs for many different clients with many different budgets in many different countries. For the last 2 years, I've been fortunate enough to collaborate with our team in this new role and love every opportunity to continue to learn and grow and ultimately support our amazing team at Brightspot and ultimately our clients. So I'm excited to be here today and looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you, panelists. We want to hear from you, so if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please submit them by clicking on that Q&A button on your Zoom bar. And Rudy is going to kick us off with the first trend, popular motivator of today's workforce. Rudy, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Terrace. And oh, by the way, these trends that we're going to be talking about, they are trends that we're seeing here at Brightspot with our clients.
Yeah.
But what's pretty cool is that they align with industry-related trends that we've also seen from different studies. But the first one is popular motivator of today's workforce. And so the IRF just recently released their annual trends study, sponsored by Brightspot. And their #1 trend was the motivational view of incentive travel in the C-suite, with 48% of senior leaders calling it an essential strategic differentiator. Moreover, 53% of these executives consider incentive travel to be a need to have. The Incentive Travel Index study, published last October and co-sponsored by the IRF and CITE, reinforced this priority, finding that incentive travel is an executive priority, evidenced by the fact that spending is up, and acknowledging that soft benefits from incentive travel, such as retention, engagement, company culture, that these soft benefits drive ROI. And in last year's IRF attendee preferences study, 91% of respondents said incentive travel was very or extremely motivating. So near universal appeal by trip attendees. So in today's competitive hiring environment, the use of incentives, rewards, and recognition are a strong differentiator in recruiting, recognizing, and retaining top talent. So the to-do here is to invite the CEO to attend the President's Club trip. But I would add further that these key executives should not just attend the club trip, but rather should be encouraged to engage with and spend time with the attendees and winners. They really should be hosting this amazing group of high achievers. All right, Kim, what's up next?
Yeah, thanks, Rudy, for establishing the obvious need for all companies to offer incentive.
Stating the obvious.
Everyone should do it. Yeah. But no, now that you've established the clear positives of incentive travel, let's talk about where you should go. After staying close to home during the pandemic and immediate post-pandemic years, in 2024 and 2025, we're beginning to see our clients host incentive trips farther from home, whether it's Europe or Hawaii or other transcontinental stops. Keeping in mind that many teams and primarily sales teams are dispersed around the globe, Brightspot really recommends considering a 3-year rotation of maybe Hawaii and then Mexico or the Caribbean or Europe. Or if you're really adventurous, maybe you consider a 4-year rotation that includes Asia or Africa or Oceania in the mix. Look for opportunities to incentivize your base by offering them bucket list destinations. I'll drop in a quick plug here. Feel free to check out our top 20 incentive travel destinations for 2024 blog on our website. I think, yep, we just dropped that into the chat if you want to look at specific destinations that we're recommending for 2024. But the to-do for this trend is to go farther on a bucket list destination.
Yeah, and you know this well, Kim, but Western Europe has become an increasingly popular destination for many of our clients, right? So whether it's Italy, Ireland, Spain, or Portugal, where your dollar can go farther than many other high-cost Western Europe destinations, but Western Europe, very, very trending high for our clients.
Oh my gosh, they love it. And it's such an easy intro into Europe for those clients who are considering it and not really sure where or how to get your foot in the door. I mean, you know, it's just a great option for
Sure.
so many clients.
All right, trend number 3, travel inflation, everybody's favorite topic. We've all been personally impacted by the off-the-charts inflation that has occurred over the last 3 years. So at the grocery store, at the pump, or whenever we open up our latest energy and or water bill, like we're just, you know, inflation is just staring us right in the face. Get this crazy stat. Prior to the pandemic, the 5-year inflation rate was roughly 2%, 2%. But the last 3 years have seen inflation of 7%, 6.5%, and 4%. And when you compound those rates, costs over that period have really risen nearly 20%. So it's no surprise that 76% of incentive travel professionals cited the rising costs of inflation as their biggest challenge, according to the Incentive Travel Index study. By far and away, the #1 challenge for planners. The somewhat good news is that incentive travel budgets are growing, according to the research. However, prices are often rising at a faster pace. Or said another way, program budget increases are not often keeping pace with the rate of inflation. Right, so the to-do here is to get more money. And then I would suggest when requesting more dollars, use data and use research from the IRF or CITE or any other industry source to reinforce the need for a bigger budget. Otherwise, you will be forced to make some tough decisions about your program, as we'll discuss in the next trend with Kim.
Yeah, thanks, Rudy. Thanks so much for sharing these really incredibly important statistics. It's a perfect lead into our next topic, which is smaller or shorter. So realistically, per Rudy's previous slide, companies need to account for a 20% increase in budget to operate their existing incentives moving forward, or incentive travel programs moving forward. Of course, we understand not all companies are in a position to be able to secure that additional 20% and to increase their budget. In this case, planners are, you know, having to look at ways to offer incentive programs on a smaller budget, smaller because they can't increase. So maybe some of the ways to do that might be to consider a smaller headcount. Maybe fewer inclusions. I know day at leisure is certainly all the rage right now, which we're going to touch on in a little bit, but that might be a way to save some money, or maybe consider shortening your trip to make up for the difference. I mean, at the end of the day, while there are always creative options we can consider, no one really wants to be in a position to shrink their program. And therefore, our fourth to-do is to pitch the CFO or CEO our first 3 trends, supported, as Rudy said, by data-driven research, and try and secure the appropriate program budget.
Yeah, and I would just add that this concept of smaller or shorter, I mean, it's a very real challenge facing incentive travel professionals, but one that should be avoided if at all possible. Otherwise, the quality, the impact, the experience that executives and attendees are used to may be compromised.
Agreed. Could not agree more.
Trend number 5, is that correct? Is new places, right? So companies wish to experience new destinations they've never visited before. In fact, 71% of respondents cited this as a priority according to the Incentive Travel Index. Participants desire more variety in trip destinations themselves. A site research study said 67% of sales reps would be more motivated to visit a new destination. So as mentioned earlier, many buyers are considering farther out destinations like Asia or Africa or Oceania for the very first time. While these might seem like exciting destinations and or other destinations that are off the beaten path, incentive travel professionals do need to take caution though, and consider the airlift, the airfare, and even travel advisory issues for some of these locations. If, however, a new destination is not in the cards for you, then try a new property type, like a boutique hotel that offers a new experience, such as Auberge, Belmont, Kipton, Montage, or Rosewood. These are all luxury properties that will not disappoint. So the to-do here is to try a new location.
Love it, Rudy. And what better way is there to enjoy your incentive travel destination than to truly immerse yourself culturally into that destination? Leading into our next trend, which is immersive and authentic experiences. There's no question that experiencing, embracing, and learning about the culture where you're traveling is a tremendous value add to your incentive program, and really a missed opportunity when not included. Industry research does prove that culture is memorable, and these local experiences really stick with attendees after they return home. I think we all know when we're excited about something, we love to talk about it, and we love to share about it. That same notion will hold true for your attendees. They're sure to talk and share and ultimately help motivate performance across the company for others looking to have a similar experience at your next incentive program. There's so many different ways to add cultural aspects to your program, whether it's through a gifting experience where you can bring local vendors in, and allow attendees to select items from those vendors that really speak to them, introducing local food into your meals or your dining experiences, local sightseeing, activities that are a little off the beaten path, room drops or room drop cards that help teach you more about that destination. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. So our to-do on this one is to seek out local, unique experiences.
Yeah, maybe one thing I'll add here, while this is not all about Rudy, but last year my wife and I celebrated a milestone anniversary, and so we went to Italy for our anniversary. And one of the things that we got to do was to rent a classic car, a classic sports car for the day, and drive through the Florence countryside. And that was truly unforgettable. It's an amazing experience. So according to the Incentive Travel Index, some of the most immersive and authentic experiences are cultural sightseeing, team building activities, and group dining experiences. So those were included in some of those things that you mentioned. Each one of these could create that great memorable experiences that attendees are craving for. So rely upon your DMC, your DMO, your CVB partners to help you create those one-of-a-kind, unique, unforgettable experiences.
Yep.
All right, next trend is ample free time. Let's see. So the IRF study on attendee preferences asked trip winners to rank the most important qualities of an incentive trip. And for the second year in a row, the #1 ranked item was ample time to relax, voted by 81% of respondents. Sales reps have been stretched thin these last few years, both professionally and personally. So downtime at an amazing destination and an equally amazing resort is a win-win. The tendency, however, is to pack the agenda and over-program with all kinds of activities that we think attendees want. But if you want the best evidence that your people want downtime or free time, just look at the number of no-shows that you have for your scheduled activities. Chances are your attendees decided to hang out at the beach or by the pool instead. And oh, by the way, the last time I checked, free time is free, especially if you're at an all-inclusive property. So the to-do here is to avoid over-programming, add free time, and please your winners. And oh, by the way, save money along the way.
So true.
Nice. Sounds like a win-win, Rudy.
Mhm.
Okay, our next trend is personalization. This is one of my favorites. Personalization within a group experience can often present a lot of challenges for planners, because while each individual has earned this trip most often on their own, you are taking a group on an incentive travel experience. And so it can just be challenging to individually personalize that experience. But there are several ways that we can look at doing that. You could consider choice of activity rather than or in addition to a group activity. You can offer gifting experience, as I mentioned previously, with a choice of gift rather than nightly room drops if your budget only allows for one gifting option. That way guests can select their own individual item. You can also consider asking questions in registration, such as, what is your favorite color, sweet or salty, cocktail or mocktail? You know, these questions can really allow us to cater our nightly room drops accordingly. I think, you know, we're seeing a lot of people nowadays, you know, steer away from wanting alcoholic beverages. So a bottle of wine in a room drop might be nice for some, but really not do anything for others. So that's just a great simple way to really, you know, personalize that room drop for your attendee. You know, celebrating birthdays or anniversaries, even something as small as a handwritten card from the executive, happy birthday, is going to go so far for your guests. Looking at some of these pictures, they're so fun. You know, when in Ireland, offer the Guinness Stouty experience, where you learn to do the perfect, you know, Guinness pour with your picture of your face in the foam, which, you know, I don't know that I would want my face in the foam, but to each their own. Personalization. Or how about like custom nameplates at a dinner? It's a really fun way to assign seating in a visually appealing way. I mean, we've all done branded towels, or customized name towels, but do they ever really get old at the beach? You know, there's a million different ways. So our to-do on this one is to shift your thinking to groups of one.
Yeah, and maybe adding a couple things, Kim. By the way, I love the registration website questions on, you know, like specifically the cocktail or mocktail, right? Because I do love a good mocktail.
Yeah.
But I would also reiterate the importance of choice, or the power of choice, especially when it comes to gifting. Whether an on-site gifting experience or other welcome amenity, giving people the power of choice will increase the odds that that item actually goes home with the attendee instead of being left behind at the hotel. So,
could not agree more.
All right, next trend. Kim is getting all her favorite ones. I'm getting like some not so great ones, like inflation, and this time tension. Tension between planners and suppliers continues. All right, so let's move on to this one, right? So I hate talking about this because at the end of the day, planners and suppliers are partners, right? We need to work together. But tensions began to exist and then now persist when it comes to hotel and DMC staffing levels and/or service levels. Simply put, it's hard to justify high pricing with our clients and/or the C-suite when service levels have declined. A remarkable 96% of incentive travel planners indicated that staffing and service levels are a top concern in choosing a destination, according to the Incentive Travel Index. Planners and clients were initially understanding, but now they're frustrated, especially when paying more. So the need for transparency and clear communication between planners and suppliers has never been more important. So the to-do here is to clearly articulate expectations and ask hotels and DMCs about their staffing and service levels.
Yep. Important. The importance of partnership on this. I think, you know, we value our partners and our vendors so much, and great point. So our next trend, we're going to talk about second tier opportunities. So while most of what we've talked about today has been specific to incentive travel programs and, you know, rewarding the top X% of your company, 10%, 20%, whatever that percentage is for your company, an IRF study called What Top Performing Companies Do Differently with Incentives and Rewards found that programs with the highest ROI are widening their reach to attempt to move the middle. I love that phrase, move the middle. So rather than focusing only on the exclusivity of the top X% of your sellers, consider offering tiered incentive options that can reach more people at different levels. Reward your second tier sellers with extra recognition beyond their commissions. So consider this. Often your A performers have the most experience or the best territories. It can be challenging for a B performer to make it to the top. So maybe they just kind of decide, I'm never going to make it, you know, to earn the top incentive. And so I'm going to be, you know, fine, settle at a B performer level. Adding a second tier recognition such as a merchandise or a high-end gift card can really help pull those B performers into B+ or ultimately an A position. So really looking for ways to help move the middle is a huge opportunity for companies. So our next to-do, or our to-do for this trend, is to move the middle with second tier prizes.
And I'd also add that we would recommend including other experiential rewards like a trip to the Super Bowl or Formula One race, which is all the rage now, or other curated experiences.
I mean, I'd be thrilled to win any of those experiences. Are you kidding?
Of course, yes.
I agree.
All right, so we just went through all 10 to-dos for 2024. So let me give a little bit of a recap, or what I like to call Rudy's recap. So number one, an incentive travel program is an incredible opportunity for CEOs to host their top achievers and engage them on site. So be sure to invite the CEO to your President's Club trip. Number two, destination preferences have shifted to farther places like Hawaii, the Caribbean, Western Europe, and beyond. So delight your attendees and go to a bucket list destination. Number three, inflation is up roughly 20% over the last 3 years, and your incentive travel program budget needs to keep pace. So get more money. Number four, avoid making hard decisions to shrink the size or the length of your trip by pitching the CFO for more money, and arm yourself with industry data and research. Number five, everybody wants to experience a shiny new destination. So keep attendee preferences in mind and try a new location. Number six, attendees also want to immerse themselves in the culture of the destination that you're visiting. So seek out local, unique activities. Number seven, attendees are desperate for ample downtime to rest, to relax, to recharge. So add free time to the agenda. Number eight, personalization continues to be a huge buzzword. So shift your thinking to groups of one and give your attendees the power of choice. Number nine, planner-supplier tensions still persist. So clearly articulate expectations with hotels and DMCs. And then lastly, Get an even greater ROI by increasing your reach beyond your high achievers and move the middle with second-tier prizes.
Thank you, Rudy. I want to thank our panelists for their time with us today. Y'all were amazing, and you gave us some great information on travel incentives. We're at the Q&A portion of our webinar, so please send us your questions. I know we're about 5 minutes until time, so if you have to hop off, that's okay. This webinar will be recorded, and you can listen to the questions later. If you have time, please stay on. We would love for you to be a part of this. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A. While we wait for those questions to come in, I want to point out that you can find more about this topic and others with some helpful resources, such as to-dos for meetings, incentive travel, and sales incentives, and our guide on tips to improve an incentive travel program. Those links will be provided to you in the chat so you don't miss out on those. All right, we've got some questions coming in, so let me look at these. Okay. Do you actually coordinate experiences such as the Super Bowl, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. We obviously work with a whole bunch of travel partners. And so for several programs, we've actually had that as a grand prize. So it's less of an incentive travel program, but for those second tier prizes that Kim talked about, where we're trying to move the middle with our clients, they usually offer tiered prize levels. And that top one is one of those experiences that I talked about, like the Super Bowl or Formula One or other curated experience. So absolutely, yes.
Next question. What trends are you seeing when it comes to arranged evening functions during an incentive trip?
Arranged evening functions.
During an incentive trip, yeah.
Right. Trends like outside of just dinner. I think a lot of time, well, there's so many different things you can do, but I think it comes back to the whole cultural immersion piece. So how do we think beyond your standard typical, it's always great to have, a Mexican trio in Mexico, but how do we add like something more local or more authentic into that? So that's something we really try and do. We'll pull in, like I said, sometimes maybe it's even just as simple as like past apps that are, locally, authentic, that push people outside of the box, that teach them about the food in addition to, the main course, or bringing in an entertainment. Sometimes we all do site visits. Great things to do. If you're at dinner and you see a musician, playing at this restaurant and you love that musician, like ask your DMC, is this somebody we could bring in? It doesn't always have to be somebody on their standard list of vendors or providers. Like look for things that really speak to you as a planner on a site visit or on a FAM that speaks to you even outside of what's just being presented, and ask if you can introduce those things into your events.
Yeah, I think we're also seeing that clients are going off site for like their final night or awards dinner to some like amazing venue, just to again get immersed in that destination and or that culture. So you can do that. And then I also see where these events have a theme to them. And then attendees are given a style guide to dress according to those themes, which adds to the fun and the flair of the event. So.
If you're in, just adding one more thought, Rudy, piggybacking off what you just said, going off property, but also if you can't go off property because I don't know, maybe you have a food and beverage minimum that doesn't allow it, or there, for whatever reason, certainly like if you're in a destination like Europe, consider bringing in, I know this might sound cheesy, but you can do this in a way that's really beautiful and really interesting, bringing in like characters, right? That might, you can't take them to a palace, but maybe you can bring, characters that speak a little bit to the history and the culture that can really play into that dinner and make it a little bit more than just a beautiful plated dinner, but a beautiful plated dinner with a really local experience and education attached to it. So
good point.
Yeah, that's great information, guys. We have time for, I know we're right at time, but we have one more question that I would like to ask. How are you seeing Hawaii business in 2024 and 2025?
Yeah, so I think it's as popular as ever. Again, if we go back to the attendee preferences study from the IRF, Hawaii is routinely the #1 requested destination for attendees. That might not always be where clients go because it's very expensive and airfare is very expensive to get them there. But without a doubt, that's the #1 destination that attendees want to go to. And sometimes we see where clients are like, well, we did Hawaii last year, but there's different islands, right? So maybe you
Yeah.
consider a rotation where one year you're doing Maui, and then you're doing Kauai, and then you're doing the Big Island, and so forth. So there's so much to do in Hawaii and different experiences that you can get on the different islands. But yeah, that continues to be incredibly popular with attendees.
Ooh, can y'all stay on for one more question?
Let's
I just
do
had
it.
one. Okay, awesome. Let's see. How do you see Portugal as a destination for next year?
I love this
How much
question.
time do you have?
I love this
No.
question. Full disclosure, I'm a big Portugal fan, but I'm a big Portugal fan for I think all the right reasons. We at Bright Spot see Portugal as a phenomenal incentive travel destination. It's easy to access. Again, going back to what Rudy mentioned earlier in our presentation regarding Western Europe. I mean, Portugal is fantastic. It's easy access. It's really easy to get to. It is affordable. There is something for everyone in Portugal, whether you're interested in, hiking and biking or the water or history, great food, castles and, beautiful, churches. I mean, their art, there is truly something for everyone in Portugal, not to mention the food is fabulous. It's all super fresh, unless you just absolutely hate seafood, in which case you still can probably go and enjoy it. But truly, the people are so nice, so kind, wonderful. I mean, I cannot say enough about Portugal as a wonderful incentive travel destination. It's a place where I think people who are not well traveled can go and feel comfortable. You're not going to feel uncomfortable. You can communicate easily. It really is a wonderful travel destination, not to mention for those who really love Europe or are interested in maybe pre or post extending. I mean, there's so much right around it that you can pre or post extend into and travel to so easily. So we're huge proponents of Portugal for so many reasons, but we're huge proponents of Western Europe and really any opportunity to think outside the box. But we absolutely see Portugal as continuing to be a hot destination for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we've operated several programs there. We're continuing to operate programs there. I keep telling Kim Dierks that I need to be added to one of those on-site teams, but she keeps telling me just to get in line.
Yeah, get in line. Sorry, Rudy, you're behind me. I mean, it's fabulous. So already looking forward to going back. I mean, that's just one of so many wonderful destinations, but it's certainly one that we love and our clients have consistently loved and attendees really see as a wow. So we would strongly recommend considering it.
I think that's one of those places that I would gladly get in line and wait my turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Culturally rich, and it just seems so beautiful.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for being on our webinar today. That's all we have time for. I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you.